Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who could outtalk, outthink, and outmaneuver an entire room, and still leave with everyone's phone number, admiration, and maybe even a few secrets? Well, there's a good chance that person was a Gemini born in the year of the dragon. This unique combination of air and fire, of Mercury's wit and the dragon's mythical power, creates a personality so dynamic, magnetic, and unpredictable, it's like watching a lightning storm in human form. So what's it really like to be, or love, a Gemini dragon? Buckle up, because this personality is not here to play safe. They're here to seduce, conquer, inspire, and disrupt. And they'll do it with a smile. Love, the fireworks you never knew you needed. Gemini dragons fall in love like they're chasing a storm, urgently, wildly, without hesitation. The moment they feel that spark, their entire world pivots toward it. It's a head-first, all-in, no-seatbelt kind of attraction. They don't test the waters, they cannonball in, laughing. This isn't about safety, this is about thrill. It's love as an experience, an adrenaline rush, a sharp intake of breath. The energy they bring to a new romance can be overwhelming for someone not ready to match it. They're the ones texting you at 3 a.m. about an idea, planning your spontaneous road trip before your second date, or writing poetry on napkins just because your smile reminded them of the moonlight. They don't wait for the right moment. They are the moment. They flirt like artists, weaving words, looks, jokes, and silences into an intoxicating rhythm. But don't confuse this with shallowness. Their style is light, witty, and effortless on the surface, but there's calculation beneath it. They observe everything. They're testing your mind while charming your heart. If you pass the test, and few do, the flirtation turns deeper, more focused, magnetic. If not, they'll keep it moving. They don't chase people who can't challenge them. They want someone who can play verbal chess while making them laugh. If you're too easy, you're invisible. What makes them fall in love is rarely physical at first. It's not your looks that catch them, it's your ideas, your weird theories, your offbeat opinions, your ability to make them think twice. That's what seduces a Gemini dragon. They need to admire your brain before they'll ever hand over their heart. A single profound conversation can weigh more to them than months of physical chemistry. Intellectual connection is their aphrodisiac. Make their mind race, and their heart will soon follow. But even as they fall quickly, there's a wall you may never see: humor, sarcasm, distraction, carefully built to keep you from getting too close too soon. Because vulnerability isn't their natural state, it threatens their sense of control. They'll charm you endlessly but only let you see the glittering surface. Underneath, their emotions are far more complex, often turbulent, always intense. But they'll guard them behind clever jokes and sudden topic changes. Want to reach their core? Patience, authenticity, consistency. They need to feel like you see them, the real them, and that you won't use that knowledge to control them. Once love takes root, though, once you break through that wall, everything changes. The lightness gives way to depth. The teasing turns to tenderness. The chaos softens into commitment. Their love, once triggered at the core, is fierce, all-consuming. They become devoted, in a way that's almost primal. Your successes become their joys. Your pain, their battle. They'll fight for you, protect you, hype you up, and never let you feel alone. But make no mistake, that devotion comes with expectations. They want to be inspired daily. They want passion, progress, purpose. Stagnation makes them wilt. They don't do passive love. They do fire. The passion they bring is both their gift and their challenge. With Gemini's duality and the dragon's intensity, their emotional weather changes fast. One moment, you're the center of their universe. The next, they're emotionally unavailable, immersed in a project, or lost in their own head. It's not always easy to love them. They demand space, then closeness, then independence again, sometimes all in one afternoon. But this volatility isn't a sign of fading love. It's a symptom of their ever-moving inner world. If you can dance in that storm, they'll worship you. They love with creativity. They'll find 100 different ways to say, "I love you," without ever saying the words directly. They'll make you a playlist that captures your entire essence. They'll invent a game just for you. They'll quote books, films, or history to describe how they feel. Each gesture is tailored, unique, layered with meaning. If you're the kind of person who needs grand traditional gestures, you might miss how deeply they're loving you in their own language. Yet, when they feel emotionally threatened, betrayed, confined, or ignored, their fire can scorch. The same intensity that makes their love so thrilling can turn into anger, withdrawal, or recklessness. They may lash out with words that hit too hard, or they may simply vanish to reclaim their freedom. Insecurity is their trigger, and ironically, the more they care, the more scared they are of being hurt. So, they protect themselves with pride. If you break their trust, rebuilding it takes time, and even then, it may never return to its original form. However, love with a Gemini dragon, when nurtured with truth and mutual respect, can become something legendary. A story worth telling, a connection that reinvents itself over time. They are not here for shallow love. They crave a partner who grows with them, adapts with them, and pushes them to evolve. They want to become someone's muse, and for that person to become theirs. When that kind of relationship is found, they'll burn bright and steady, with more loyalty than anyone could expect from such a free spirit. In the end, loving a Gemini dragon is not for those who want calm waters. It's for those who crave the ocean, powerful, deep, wild, and full of life. If you can ride the waves with them, they will take you to emotional and intellectual heights you never thought possible. Not everyone is ready for that, but if you are, prepare for the ride of your life. Marriage, a beautiful, chaotic partnership. Marrying a Gemini dragon is like diving into a lifelong collaboration with an electrified soul, exhilarating, demanding, and almost never predictable. From the outside, their marriage might look unstructured, spontaneous, even wild. That's because it is. These individuals aren't interested in following traditional blueprints for what marriage should be. They don't need white picket fences or synchronized calendars to feel secure. What they want is stimulation, mental, emotional, experiential. They treat marriage as a shared evolution, not a settled destination. For them, it's not about ticking boxes. It's about writing their own rulebook, tearing it up midway, and co-creating a new one with someone just as restless and visionary. The Gemini dragon isn't a fan of marital roles or predefined expectations. Don't assume they'll cook, clean, provide, or nurture in conventional ways. Instead, they bring their own unique magic to the table, endless ideas, boundless energy, and surprising tenderness tucked between moments of chaos. Marriage, to them, is a canvas for creativity, an open-source relationship that requires both partners to contribute new ideas, new adventures, and new ways of being together constantly. If things start to feel too settled, they may begin to sabotage the peace just to spark movement again. Communication is both their superpower and their battlefield. They can express themselves with poetic charm, logical brilliance, and rapid-fire wit. They are captivating conversationalists and natural debaters. But when emotions run high, they may shift into over-analysis, sarcasm, or stonewalling. They don't always trust vulnerability, especially in situations where they feel emotionally cornered. Their partner must be fluent in emotional intelligence, willing to patiently guide them back into the heart space without triggering their instinct to flee or fight. Talk is constant in a Gemini dragon marriage, but real listening is what makes the difference. A Gemini dragon needs a partner who is fiercely independent, mentally agile, and unafraid of unpredictability. If you need predictability, emotional consistency, and daily check-ins to feel secure, you might struggle. These individuals operate on a wavelength of controlled chaos. They thrive on stimulation and can shift gears in a heartbeat, from discussing philosophy to planning a last-minute road trip to reimagining the family budget, all before noon. A partner who resists change, clings to routine, or demands constant reassurance will feel left behind and emotionally exhausted. The right match is someone who flows with change and views life as a grand experiment. Despite their whirlwind nature, Gemini dragons crave deep emotional resonance, but only from someone who earns it. They don't open up easily. Their inner world is guarded behind laughter, distraction, and a carefully maintained image of confidence. But once they feel truly seen, understood, and not judged, their loyalty is unwavering. They will pour everything into the relationship, investing not only time but passion, belief, and creativity. They become champions for their partner's dreams, protectors of their shared vision, and tireless co-creators of a life that defies convention. Freedom is non-negotiable in their marriage. Emotional possessiveness, micromanaging, or any attempt to control their schedule, friendships, or creative pursuits will trigger rebellion. Not because they don't love their partner, but because they believe true love doesn't come with a leash. They need to know they can come and go, evolve, and explore without fear of rejection. Give them space, and they will return with stories, ideas, and an even deeper appreciation for what they have. Try to clip their wings, and they may silently begin plotting their exit. Conflict in their marriage is rarely dull. Arguments can range from passionate shouting matches to icy silences to dramatic exits followed by tearful apologies. They are intense when triggered, emotional fireballs with intellectual weapons. But they also cool quickly. Their tempers burn hot and fast, but they don't usually hold grudges. A partner who can de-escalate with humor, compassion, or logic will find that these explosions can actually lead to more honest, renewed connection. Gemini dragons often emerge from conflict with deeper clarity, if both partners are willing to stay in the ring. Loyalty for them doesn't look traditional. They might forget anniversaries. They might flirt at parties. They might vanish into their own world for days. But underneath the chaos, if they have chosen you, really chosen you, they will never stop believing in your potential, your worth, or your shared destiny. Their loyalty isn't based on rules or rituals. It's based on energy. If that energy continues to evolve, grow, and surprise them, they will stand by you even in the darkest storms. The home life they build will be far from ordinary. Their idea of a nest might include spontaneous remodeling projects, books stacked on every surface, exotic travel plans pinned to the fridge, and endless debates about how to raise the kids like rebels and scholars at the same time. There's rarely a dull moment. Every month might feel like a new chapter. And while this lack of routine might drive a more grounded partner crazy, those who crave a dynamic, mentally rich environment will thrive. Their home isn't built on routines. It's built on ideas, imagination, and the ability to reinvent. In their best moments, a Gemini dragon marriage is a partnership of legends. It's two co-authors writing a saga. It's electric love woven with respect, humor, and relentless curiosity. It's a safe haven that never becomes a cage. And above all, it's a dance between two souls who refuse to stop learning, questioning, and becoming, together. Sex: playful, experimental, and unexpected. For the Gemini dragon, sex isn't just a physical act. It's a fully immersive, multidimensional experience. It's a theater of desire, a playground of the senses, and most importantly, a creative collaboration. These individuals do not treat intimacy as something routine or mechanical. Instead, they approach it with the same level of invention and enthusiasm they bring to their most passionate projects. Every encounter is a chance to express, explore, and push limits, both theirs and their partners. If you're looking for a lover who follows a script, this isn't them. If you want someone who rewrites the script every single time, now you're speaking their language. While they are cerebral beings, driven by ideas and hungry for stimulation, their sexual nature isn't detached or overly clinical. On the contrary, their instincts kick in with surprising force once they're in the moment. They read body language like poetry and react with lightning precision. They know how to pivot, improvise, intensify, or soften, all based on the slightest cues. It's this fusion of mental agility and raw instinct that makes them such captivating lovers. They think fast, move fast, and feel deeply, and somehow, it all comes together seamlessly. For them, curiosity is everything. Gemini dragons want to know what turns you on emotionally, mentally, and physically, and they want to understand the why behind it. Sex with them often begins long before anyone gets undressed. A glance across a crowded room, a heated debate, a whispered observation at an inappropriate moment. These are their warm-ups. The anticipation, the build-up, the mental foreplay, it's as thrilling as the act itself. If there's no curiosity in the air, they lose interest fast. They crave intrigue. They crave novelty. They crave the unexpected. One of their most distinct traits in bed is their love of experimentation. These are not lovers who stick to familiar patterns or safe routines. They want to explore new positions, new places, new fantasies, new power dynamics. One night, they might want soft and sensual intimacy that feels like poetry. The next, they'll surprise you with something more dominant, primal, or theatrical. They thrive on keeping things fresh. They may even research ideas or buy books just to bring something new to the table. In their world, predictability is the true mood killer. Their sense of play is infectious. For them, sex is not just serious business, it's also fun. There's laughter in the bedroom, teasing, spontaneous role play, inside jokes, and flirtation that spills into daily life. They may send texts that are equal parts smart and seductive, or invent private games that turn mundane moments into a slow burn of tension. This playfulness keeps intimacy light and alive, even when life gets heavy. It's how they remind themselves, and you, that pleasure and joy can coexist beautifully with passion. Power dynamics fascinate them. Gemini dragons aren't defined by traditional roles of dominance or submission. They like to experiment with both. What they really crave is balance and exchange. They enjoy taking control, but only with someone who willingly, intelligently gives it. They enjoy being seduced, but only by someone who does it with originality and depth. They don't seek compliance, they seek collaboration. Their ideal partner is someone confident enough to offer feedback, initiate change, and co-create fantasy without hesitation. Emotionally, they may seem detached at first, especially if the connection is new. This doesn't mean they're cold, it means they're protective. Deep emotional vulnerability in sex takes time with them. They'll give you the show, the adventure, the intensity, but the true emotional nakedness comes only after trust is built. When that trust arrives, everything changes. The experience becomes deeper, slower, more connected. They allow you to see the softness beneath their bravado. And when they feel emotionally safe, they're capable of transcendent levels of intimacy. They are highly responsive to energy. If you're nervous, they'll know. If you're bored, they'll feel it before you do. If you're excited and uninhibited, they'll meet you at full volume. This sensitivity makes them adaptable lovers. They tune in with incredible precision. But it also means they need a partner who is present. If you're distracted or faking it, they'll shut down. Authenticity is their ultimate turn-on. They need to feel like you're fully there with them, body, mind, and soul. Fantasy plays a huge role in their erotic world. They often carry a rich internal landscape of sexual ideas, daydreams, and secret desires. Some are poetic and romantic. Others are edgy and taboo. Either way, they love to bring these fantasies to life, and they love a partner who's willing to dive in without judgment. They may incorporate costumes, props, or elaborate storytelling into your encounters. They might turn an entire weekend into a narrative experience. They're not afraid to be a little outrageous. If anything, they thrive on it. Ultimately, sex with a Gemini dragon is an evolution. It doesn't settle. It doesn't stagnate. It grows, shifts, and redefines itself over time. It challenges both partners to keep exploring, to keep listening, to keep creating. If you're willing to co-pilot this adventure, to take the mental ride, the emotional leap, and the physical journey, they will give you an experience that's unforgettable, magnetic, and alive with possibility. Just don't expect the same thing twice. That's not how they love. That's not how they live. Friendship, the unofficial leader of every social circle. A Gemini dragon doesn't try to become the social center of gravity, it just happens. Walk into any gathering, and you'll spot them easily. The one surrounded by a mix of laughter, debate, curiosity, and chaos. It's not because they demand attention, but because they magnetize it. There's a kind of raw electricity to their presence, a combination of unpredictability and sheer verbal firepower that pulls people in. You can't tell if they're about to tell a joke, start a revolution, or vanish into thin air, and that's part of their charm. They live in motion, and everyone else moves with them. Their charisma doesn't come from polish or performance, It comes from authenticity and mental agility. They speak fast, but not without substance. They tell wild stories, but always with a kernel of truth. They're endlessly curious and make others feel seen, challenged, and entertained all at once. A conversation with them can feel like a TED Talk delivered by a stand-up comedian, equal parts enlightening and ridiculous. You leave both laughing and wondering if you should rethink your entire worldview. They make socializing feel like an event, not because they try, but because they are the event. Humor is their gateway to connection. It's sharp, quick, and often self-deprecating. They can make a stranger laugh within seconds and then pivot the room into deep existential questions just as fast. Their comedic instinct allows them to diffuse tension, draw people out of their shells, and mask their own emotional depth when they don't feel like being vulnerable. They're the ones making sarcastic remarks during serious moments, but somehow still adding value. Their humor isn't surface level. It's a language they use to scan for emotional intelligence in others. The Gemini Dragon is a natural connector. They don't just have friends, they have networks. People from all walks of life are drawn to them. Artists, scientists, rebels, quiet introverts, and loud extroverts. They can find common ground with nearly anyone because they don't judge novelty, they thrive on it. They want to understand what makes people tick. And because of this, they rarely stick to one social circle. Instead, they float effortlessly between groups, blending into each environment while still remaining undeniably themselves. They're that friend who knows the underground poet and the CEO. Being friends with a Gemini Dragon means you'll never be bored. One day it's spontaneous road trips. The next, a 4-hour conversation about philosophy, sexuality, and whether aliens exist. They might text you at midnight with a half-formed idea for a business, a short film, or a protest, and expect you to be in. They don't think small, and they assume their friends are capable of keeping up with their speed, their chaos, and their vision. If you're down for the ride, they'll bring magic into your life. If not, they'll move on, kindly but unapologetically. Despite their ever-changing schedule and emotionally elusive moments, they are deeply loyal, but not in the traditional way. They won't always remember your birthday. They might forget to reply for a week. They'll cancel plans last minute if inspiration strikes elsewhere. But when it matters, really matters, they show up with fire in their eyes and full force behind their support. They'll defend you, build you up, and speak truths no one else is brave enough to say. Their loyalty comes with fewer hugs and more rally cries. They'll push you to evolve because they believe in your potential, even when you don't. Their disappearances are legendary. Just when you think you've cracked them, they'll go silent, slip off the grid, and reappear 2 weeks later with a new tattoo, a novel idea, or a story that sounds like a fever dream. This isn't flakiness, it's survival. Gemini Dragons need solitude to process, to recharge, to chase sparks that don't involve anyone else. They're not running from you. They're running towards something. When they return, they come bearing insight, humor, and often a strange gift or two. If you don't take their vanishings personally, they'll trust you more. Their friendships are chosen with precision. While they may appear wildly social, they're not interested in shallow connections. They collect people like dragons collect treasure, not for possession, but for value. Intellectual value, emotional richness, unpredictable minds. If you're in their close circle, it's because you're rare. They don't tolerate dullness, drama for sport, or emotional dependence. They want friends who can teach them something, laugh at the absurdity of life, and survive chaos without crumbling. You're not just their friend, you're part of their personal think tank. Betray their trust, however, and the ice sets in fast. Gemini Dragons are forgiving in minor annoyances, lateness, forgetfulness, human error. But dishonesty, manipulation, trying to control them, that cuts deep. They may not rage or retaliate, instead, they simply disappear. No drama, no closure, just a shift of energy so final you'll feel it like a vacuum. Loyalty means everything to them, and once that bond is broken, they rarely rebuild it. Friendship to them isn't a convenience, it's an energetic contract. Break it, and you're out. To be close with a Gemini dragon is to be constantly inspired, occasionally challenged, and perpetually entertained. They're the friend who will drag you out of your comfort zone and into a better version of yourself. They don't offer calm waters, they offer transformation. Their friendship is a lightning storm of ideas, loyalty, laughter, and fire. It's not for the passive, but for those who can keep up. It's one of the richest connections imaginable, the kind that changes your life and makes you wonder how you ever lived without it. Business, born to lead, built to innovate. Give a Gemini dragon a vision, a challenge, and the freedom to act, and they will build something unforgettable. These individuals are entrepreneurial to their core, not just because they enjoy autonomy, but because their minds are wired for innovation. They don't just solve problems, they reimagine them. They see gaps where others see limits. To them, the business world is a playground of possibilities, and they bring a level of enthusiasm and originality that disrupts stagnant systems and redefines how things are done. If there's a rule, they'll question it. If there's a mold, they'll break it. If there's a market no one's tapped into yet, they're already thinking 10 steps ahead. At the center of their business genius is an incredibly fast-thinking mind. Gemini dragons process ideas, information, and strategy at the speed of light. They thrive in environments where quick pivots and constant ideation are not only encouraged but required. Give them a whiteboard and a team, and they'll generate enough ideas in one afternoon to power an entire quarter. They're not afraid of chaos, they thrive in it. They see patterns where others see noise, and they can spot trends, behavioral shifts, and unmet needs with uncanny precision. That ability to synthesize and adapt quickly is what makes them unstoppable in the modern business landscape. Communication is their most powerful tool, and they wield it like a weapon. Gemini dragons can pitch anything to anyone. Investors, customers, collaborators. They know how to craft the right message for the right audience. Their speaking and writing skills are magnetic, persuasive, and always laced with wit and intelligence. They're natural storytellers who can make even the most complex idea sound simple and essential. This ability makes them highly effective at marketing, branding, fundraising, and leadership. They don't just sell products, they sell visions. And people want to be part of what they're building. Risk, they eat it for breakfast. Gemini dragons are fearless when it comes to big moves. Launching a company without all the data? Done. Reinventing a business model mid-flight? Let's go. Partnering with unconventional allies to leapfrog competitors? Of course, they aren't reckless, they're intuitively strategic. But they don't wait for permission, and they don't obsess over guarantees. Their attitude is, try it, learn fast, fix it in motion. This agility gives them an edge over more cautious, analysis paralysis-prone personalities. They take bold bets, and more often than not, they pay off. But with all that firepower comes the shadow side, impulsivity. Gemini dragons can get so caught up in the rush of new ideas that they fail to vet or refine them before moving full steam ahead. They may commit to too many ventures, scatter their focus, or chase novelty at the expense of sustainability. They're not always the best at finishing what they start. Structure, discipline, and long-term follow-through don't come naturally, unless they've consciously developed those muscles or surrounded themselves with grounded collaborators who help anchor their genius into actionable systems. They're also known to overpromise. Their optimism and confidence are contagious, but sometimes they sell the dream before the details are nailed down. This can lead to tension with more cautious stakeholders, especially in corporate settings where delivery timelines and risk management are crucial. It's not deception, it's an enthusiasm that moves faster than logistics. Their challenge is learning to match their storytelling brilliance with solid execution plans. When they do, they become not just visionaries, but unmatched operators. Gemini dragons hate bureaucracy. If they're working within a traditional company, they either rise to the top quickly or leave to start their own venture. Endless rules, micromanagement, and slow-moving chains of command are their kryptonite. They need space to experiment, authority to pivot, and the trust to operate on instinct. Put them in an environment that values innovation and speed, and they'll flourish. Trap them in a rigid hierarchy, and they'll either rebel, disengage, or start quietly planning their exit. They're here to build, not maintain someone else's outdated structure. Their ideal industries are those in constant flux: tech, entertainment, marketing, fashion, journalism, education reform, futurism. They're drawn to fast-paced, idea-driven fields that reward originality and communication. They thrive in startup culture, creative agencies, media companies, and any space where rapid evolution is part of the game. They're not afraid to jump across industries either. They're natural cross-pollinators. Their curiosity drives them to explore new sectors, often bringing fresh perspectives that others overlook. They aren't loyal to one field, they're loyal to innovation. What truly sets them apart in business is their confidence. Gemini dragons believe in their vision even when no one else sees it yet. This self-assuredness is magnetic. It gives others permission to take risks, to think differently, to challenge the status quo. They lead with conviction and charisma, often becoming cultural anchors inside their teams. They're the kind of leaders who inspire loyalty not through authority, but through energy. Their teams don't follow them because they have to. They follow them because they want to be part of something bigger, bolder, and smarter than what the world has seen before. And finally, when surrounded by the right collaborators, those who balance their intensity, ground their vision, and help translate ideas into action, Gemini dragons are unstoppable. They build empires not through brute force, but through inspiration. They create businesses that feel alive, brands that move culture, and solutions that change lives. They don't just want to participate in the economy, they want to rewrite it. And in many cases, they will. Dark sides, the storm behind the sparkle. For all their brilliance, magnetism, and infectious charm, Gemini dragons possess an undercurrent of darkness that runs just as deep as their talents. These aren't surface-level flaws or temporary moods, these are structural shadows built into the architecture of their personality. Their light shines bright, yes, but so does their inner chaos. And while their strengths can dazzle, their weaknesses can dismantle relationships, careers, and even their own sense of peace if left unchecked. To understand the Gemini dragon fully, you must also understand the storm behind the sparkle, the ego, the detachment, the restlessness, and the emotional complexity that churns behind their confident smile. They may inspire trust and later betray it with an impulsive decision or cold emotional exit. The fallout can leave others feeling bewildered, used, or simply left behind without explanation. And yet, and this is important, their darkness is not immovable. Gemini dragons are capable of incredible self-awareness when they choose to engage it. They can evolve, and often do, once they hit a personal or emotional threshold that forces them to slow down and face themselves. Crisis often becomes the catalyst. A relationship implodes, a business fails, or a sense of deep burnout sets in. In those moments, if they resist the urge to flee or blame others, something shifts. They begin to realize that staying in one place, in one truth, in one emotional reality, isn't death. It's discipline, and from that discipline, their potential becomes not just explosive but sustainable. When a Gemini dragon learns to manage their ego, to lead with humility instead of superiority, they become not only admired but deeply trusted. When they resist the urge to manipulate and instead communicate vulnerably, their relationships deepen in ways they never imagined. When they allow themselves to feel, really feel, instead of rationalizing every emotion away, they become whole. And when they learn to stay still long enough to cultivate something real, instead of chasing the new, they become not just forces of change, but pillars of impact. So yes, their shadows are intense, but their power to overcome them is just as strong. A self-aware Gemini dragon is one of the most dynamic, impactful, and awe-inspiring individuals on the planet. They are proof that brilliance and chaos can coexist, and that transformation is always within reach. Life purpose: to inspire, disrupt, and lead. Gemini dragons did not arrive on this planet to live quietly, obediently, or in the background of someone else's dream. They were born with an inner engine that refuses to idle, an engine fueled by curiosity, restlessness, creativity, and sheer force of personality. They are builders of ideas, shifters of paradigms, and magnets for both controversy and admiration. Their life purpose isn't about fitting into what already exists. It's about remaking it, questioning it, and often, burning it down so something better can rise. This is not just a calling, it's an imperative. The Gemini Dragon does not seek comfort, they seek consequence. They want to matter, they want to leave fingerprints on the future. From a young age, they usually sense that they're different. While other kids may be content with routines or conformity, the Gemini Dragon resists being boxed in. They question everything: parents, teachers, norms, traditions. They are driven not by rebellion for its own sake, but by an insatiable desire to understand why. Why this rule? Why that belief? Why not something better? This instinct for inquiry shapes the core of their life's mission. They're wired to disrupt, not just to cause noise, but to create breakthroughs. They sense flaws in systems before others do, and while some may see chaos, the Gemini Dragon sees opportunity. Communication is always at the heart of their purpose. Whether through words, art, technology, or movement, Gemini Dragons are vessels for powerful messages. They are natural storytellers, speakers, writers, educators, and media makers. Their words aren't just eloquent, they're catalytic. They don't just inform, they move people. They can articulate what others are afraid to say. They give voice to the misunderstood. Their message is often provocative, sometimes polarizing, but always potent. Even in silence, their presence communicates. Something about them feels like a broadcast signal. The world tunes in, whether intentionally or not. Leadership is their destiny, though not always in the traditional, corporate, command and control sense. Gemini Dragons lead with energy, vision, and contagious ambition. People don't just follow them because of authority, they follow them because they want to feel alive. They bring urgency, clarity, and excitement to any mission. Their leadership style can be unconventional, often improvisational, emotionally charged, and brimming with bold ideas. They're not afraid to pivot mid-plan or throw out the rulebook entirely. And while this can frustrate more rigid thinkers, it also inspires those hungry for something real, dynamic, and possible. Creativity is not a hobby for the Gemini Dragon, it's survival. They need outlets for their mind to run wild and for their imagination to manifest. Their purpose is frequently intertwined with invention. Whether through artistic expression, technological innovation, activism, or entrepreneurship, they need to make something that didn't exist before. This act of creation is how they anchor their restless energy and avoid spiraling into self-destruction. Stagnation, for them, is existential poison. If they're not evolving or creating, they wither. Their path to fulfillment lies in motion, in building, reshaping, imagining, and birthing new realities into the world. Their restlessness, while often seen as a flaw, is actually a navigational tool. It's how their soul says, "This isn't it, keep moving." They might jump from job to job, city to city, even identity to identity, all in the pursuit of alignment. People may label this as flaky or inconsistent, but in truth, the Gemini Dragon is refining their purpose through lived experience. Every reinvention is a course correction. Every mistake is research. They're alchemists, turning chaos into clarity, eventually. But they must learn not to abandon ship the moment the excitement fades. Commitment is the furnace in which their long-term purpose gets forged. One of their greatest life challenges is learning to balance speed with depth. Gemini Dragons move fast, think fast, and speak fast, but purpose demands more than just momentum. It demands completion. Many Gemini Dragons are visionaries who struggle with follow-through. They get high on beginnings and often neglect the endings. But until they learn to finish what they start, to sit with discomfort, repetition, and slow progress, their purpose remains potential, not power. When they do find that balance, however, they become formidable. Suddenly, all that brilliance isn't just dazzling, it's effective. It's legacy building. Their emotional evolution is just as vital as their intellectual one. The Gemini Dragon often resists vulnerability, choosing performance over presence, intellect over intimacy. But the more they integrate their emotional body, the more they feel their purpose, not just think it, the more impact they're able to make. A Gemini dragon who speaks from both the head and the heart can move nations. They stop being merely impressive and start becoming transformational. Their presence becomes medicine. Their mission becomes healing. They move from being a disruptive force to a conscious one. Their purpose is not just about what they do, it's about who they activate in the process. Gemini dragons often awaken something in others, whether it's courage, clarity, or creative fire. They challenge people to grow, question, speak, and break free. Even if you only cross paths with them briefly, you'll leave changed. That's their real gift. They don't just lead projects. They lead awakenings. They don't just chase goals. They raise vibrations. Their influence ripples long after they're gone, because they plant seeds of evolution everywhere they go, and those seeds bloom in ways even they can't predict. They are not here for a small or quiet life. They are not here to fit in. They are not here to color within the lines. The Gemini dragon came into this world to make noise, make change, and make history. Their legacy will not be measured by stability or conformity, but by how boldly they lived, how many minds they moved, and how many systems they reshaped along the way. And if they learn to balance their fire with focus, their intellect with emotion, and their vision with discipline, there will be no ceiling to what they can achieve. The world doesn't just need Gemini dragons. The world is reshaped by them. They are the storm, the spark, the voice that says, "This isn't enough. We can do more." And if they stay true to that call, if they choose growth over comfort, courage over safety, they will not just be remembered. They will be revered. So, are you a Gemini dragon? Or do you know one? Think about it. Is there someone in your life who enters the room like a lightning bolt, impossible to ignore, yet impossible to pin down? Someone who can talk about philosophy, pop culture, and startup economics all in one breath and still make you feel like you're not just part of the conversation, but part of the story? Do they challenge you, thrill you, infuriate you, inspire you, sometimes all at once? If your answer is yes, then chances are, you've met a Gemini dragon. And if that person is you, then welcome to the club. It's not a quiet one, but it's unforgettable. Gemini dragons are the high-voltage souls who make ordinary life feel like a movie with an unpredictable plot. They're the ones who text at 1:38 a.m. with a business idea, a dream they had, or a link to a documentary that changed their entire worldview, and they expect you to keep up. They're the people who say, "Let's go," before you've even asked where. They're not just in the moment, they are the moment. And if you're close to one, chances are, your world's been bigger, bolder, and a lot more brilliant because of it. But here's the real question. What's it like being a Gemini dragon? If you were one, you already know the answer is complicated and extraordinary. You know what it feels like to be full of too many ideas, too much energy, too much everything, all the time. You know how hard it is to sit still, to stay silent, to settle down when every part of you is wired for change. You know the thrill of starting something new, and the internal battle that begins when it's time to follow through. You know what it means to care deeply, and yet struggle to show it. You know how it feels to inspire people while still searching for your own anchor. So let's talk strengths. What's yours? Is it your quick wit? Your fearless creativity? Your ability to lead without forcing, to spark without burning out, to dream without boundaries? Maybe it's your charisma, that mysterious gravitational pull you have when you speak with passion. Maybe it's your drive, the way you chase excellence even when no one's watching. Or maybe it's the way you make others feel, like they matter, like they're capable of more, like they just stepped into a bigger version of themselves. Those are your gifts, and they're not small, they're seismic. But no one gets the magic without the storm. So what's your shadow, your most dangerous weakness? Is it your impatience, the way you leave things behind the moment they feel too slow? Is it your ego, that quiet belief that no one else can really keep up, not the way you can? Maybe it's emotional detachment, the tendency to rationalize instead of feel, to disappear when the moment calls for connection. Or maybe it's the burnout, the price you pay for always needing to chase something bigger, faster, louder. These are the dragons inside the dragon. And learning to tame them? That's your real quest. We want to hear from you. Seriously, drop into the comments and tell us, What's your Gemini Dragon story? What do you love about yourself, or about the one in your life who's wired this way? What part of this hit home? And what's still unfolding? Because one thing we know for sure, Gemini Dragons never stop evolving. Your life isn't linear, it's a kaleidoscope, and we want to witness it with you. And if this kind of deep dive speaks to you, if you want more bold, beautifully written, psychologically sharp explorations of zodiac archetypes, character dynamics, or personality combos, stick around. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, dive into the next video. This rabbit hole is just getting started. Links to our socials, our extended stories, and maybe even a few behind-the-scenes extras are in the description below. Stay curious, stay wild, and whatever you do, stay you.